In today's video, we're setting sail aboard the Disney Magic, and we've got tons of tips, tricks, and must-dos for your first Disney cruise. Let's go do it. Hi, hello everybody. This is Rob with Ear Scouts coming to you from Disney's Contemporary Resort, where we are about to board Disney Transportation and head off to Port Canaveral to set sail aboard the Disney Magic. This is going to be our first ever Disney cruise. And since we don't already know a whole lot about Disney cruises, this is our first time, we asked all of you, and we got so many amazing tips, tricks, and must-dos. Before we get started, I do want to give a huge thank you to all of these amazing folks who offered up their best Disney cruise tips and tricks on social media and over on Patreon. In this video, we're going to put all of these tips into practice. We're going to try these things out, and we're going to show you as we go on our first Disney cruise what a difference these tips and tricks make. So the reason we're starting here at the Contemporary Resort is because we got so many tips from you saying it's great if you can start your vacation at a Disney World resort and then get the transportation that takes you to the ship, because that's going to give you early boarding. You can also get that early boarding benefit by cruising a whole bunch of times, because every time you cruise, those add up and you get a higher tier. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Or you could get that same benefit by purchasing the transportation from the airport. The other great thing about starting your vacation at a Disney Resort hotel, number one, you're going to get to enjoy Disney World as part of your trip. But number two, they make it really easy and seamless to go from Disney World to the port. You just leave your bags by the door. They pick them up around 7 in the morning. And then you head over to the rendezvous point. You'll get an email a couple days before your trip letting you know where and when your rendezvous point is at your resort, or the instructions if you're getting picked up at the airport. I do want to give a heartfelt thank you to Sherry and Steve from Patreon. We were just going to get an inexpensive resort so that we could do the transfer, and they so generously offered to donate some of their DVC points so we could stay here at Bay Lake Tower. And this has been a magical start to our Disney Magic adventure. It's actually already almost that time, so we're going to head over to the main building and catch the bus to Port Canaveral. That was easy peasy. We came down into the lobby. We saw some folks with the Disney Cruise Line clipboards. They gave us a fun little magnet to commemorate our adventure on the Disney bus. And they told us to be back here in 15 minutes to board. The other thing they did was to check our documents to make sure that we had passports. And they're gonna check that both here and at the port. It's really important as soon as you book your cruise. If you don't have your passport yet, you want to go ahead and order that, because they do take a long time to process. And even if you do have a passport, you want to check and make sure it's not going to expire within 6 months of your cruise dates. Even if you're just getting close to that passport expiring, that can give you problems on your journey. So make sure your passports are up to date, and most importantly, make sure you keep those passports in your carry-on. Don't put it in the luggage that they're going to pick up from your room. Make sure you have it with you, because you'll need it both here and when you arrive at the port. That luggage, you're not going to see it until you get back to your stateroom, because it's going to be there waiting for you. But right now, we want to make sure that we don't leave the bus waiting for us. So let's head on over and hop aboard. We've arrived at Port Canaveral. We're not even on the ship yet, and already there's Disney magic everywhere. The cast members are amazing. We got some photos taken already. They got some PhotoPass photographers set up here while you're waiting to board. Some things that's important to note though, you're not allowed to bring any open food items, any produce. If it's manufactured food, that is sealed. So like a bag of chips that has not been opened, you're good to go. If it's been opened, however, or it's in like a Ziploc, you're not allowed to bring that in. As far as beverages, you are allowed to bring in a beverage as long as it's in a clear bottle and they can see what it is. If it's in a water bottle that you can't see inside of, though, they are going to ask you to dump that liquid out when you come in. But once you get through security, all you got to do is hang out here and wait for them to call your boarding group. Had we not taken Disney transportation, we would have had a later boarding group because this is our very first cruise. We would have been kind of bottom of the totem pole. But because we came from a Disney resort, that moved us up the list. I also learned from a cast member, it also matters which resort you're coming from. If you're coming from a deluxe resort, you're going to get on the ship a little bit faster than if you came from a value resort. So you remember earlier when I said it was important to try to get on board the ship quickly? The reason for that is because if you want to try to get any last-minute dining reservations, here on the ship, one of the most popular is Palo. They have brunch and dinner. Now, we were able to get a dinner reservation for Palo, but we weren't able to get it for brunch. So we're going to get in line here at Soul Cat. That's actually where you come aboard the Magic right now to get on the list for one of those brunch dining reservations. When we came up, the line was relatively short. It's already gotten pretty massive. The other thing you want to do as soon as you're aboard is connect to the ship's Wi-Fi and check your dining rotation. So this is going to show you what restaurants you're dining at each evening. The reason this can matter to you is that you will likely have more than one night at certain restaurants depending on the length of your cruise. So you want to make sure if you're getting a reservation like at Palo that it's overlapping with one of those restaurants you've already dined at. If there's a restaurant that you're only going to get to dine at once, it would be a shame that you'd miss it because that was the night you had your Palo reservation. But you don't need to worry if it does overlap because this is the place where you can make those changes. So I would say make your first stop guest relations, and then they're going to tell you where you need to go to make those dining adjustments at the last minute. But what we wanted to do was to request private dining. Now, normally, if you don't request private dining, you're going to be seated with the same group of folks at every single meal, which is awesome. It's a great way to meet people. But for us, because we're making videos, we didn't want to ruin other people's experiences by filming all the food and talking. So we decided that we would request private dining. Now, this is something that you can request in advance of your visit. If you go into the app, there's a section we'll show you on the screen right now where you can make special requests. This is also where you would go if you had medical requests. For example, I use a CPAP machine and I was able to go in there and request that there's distilled water available in my room. But they have all different accommodations they can make here. And one of those accommodations is to request private dining. Well, now that we've gotten our dining situation all fixed, we're gonna go find the pool because I hear this is also a great time to get a short wait on the water slide. That was really intense. I think that's probably one of the most intense water slides I've ever done. The advice, though, to do it right when you get on the ship was great advice. It was a walk-on, and I could tell that's probably a pretty long wait once you're out at sea. Unfortunately, you're not allowed to take anything with you, so we weren't able to film it. And they are serious. Like, they even make you take off magic bands and watches. Nothing. No glasses, nothing. So be sure you do all that before you go up there. Don't be like me and go all the way up there and then have to come all the way back down. The way this water slide works, you stand inside of a chamber and you're going to cross your arms and your legs. And this is key. You're going to want to hold your nose because I did not hold my nose. I didn't know to do that. And I think half the pool ended up my nose. So definitely close your nose when you go down. But you're in this chamber and then all of a sudden the floor drops underneath you and you go plunging down. It was thrilling, and even though it isn't really that long of a water slide, it's a huge thrill, just that initial drop alone. So I think you definitely have to do the aqua dunk once while you're here. This definitely seems like the perfect time to be enjoying the pool. Unfortunately, a lot of people aren't going to be able to do it because they maybe didn't know that they needed to have their swimsuit in their carry-on item. So we packed those in a little bag that we brought with us on board the ship. We don't actually get our luggage until later. For us today, our room is going to be ready at 1:30, but that doesn't necessarily mean the luggage will be there already. It's actually pretty close to 1:30 right now, so we're going to go check out our room. One thing you might be surprised to discover when you're first boarding the ship is that none of the shops are open yet. You can't even get your photos that you got taken as you came on board the ship. That's because they're not going to open any of this stuff up until the ship leaves the port. I'm guessing Mickey does that for tax reasons, but I'm not 100% sure. One tip we heard from a lot of people, though, is you do want to go shopping as soon as these stores open. That's because you're going to be out at sea. There's no restocking of anything. If there's something that you fall in love with and it sells out in your size, it is not coming back. And unfortunately, most of this stuff you can't get unless you're on a Disney cruise. I love our stateroom. It's really a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be, actually. One important thing that I learned the hard way, the bathroom has a step up. So do be careful, don't stub your toe on your way into the bathroom. Keep an eye out on that. But this does seem like it's going to be a pretty great place to hang out. I'm actually really pleasantly surprised. Most staterooms like this one aboard the Disney ships hold 3 to 4 guests. There are a select number of deluxe family staterooms that will hold 5 guests. And then there are some concierge rooms and other fancy rooms that can hold 7 guests. For these traditional staterooms, however, you definitely get more bang for your buck if you have more than 2 guests. Everything is basically priced for 2, and when you add guests on top of that 2, that's when you start saving money because those additional guests are going to cost less than the first 2 guests. If it's your first time booking, you should spend a little bit of time checking out on the internet what your different options are, especially if you've got a party larger than 2. And you might want to consider working with a certified Disney travel planner. They do not charge for their services, and in some cases, they'll actually give you extra goodies like onboard credit when you work with certain travel planners. One tip that we got from a lot of people that thankfully doesn't apply here, lots of folks said it was a good idea to bring an extra card, kind of the shape of a credit card, like an old Disney Key to the World card, so that you could slide it into the slot that allows you to turn on the lights in your room. Now, the newer ships all apparently have a little docking slot where it won't let you have electricity until your key card is slid into that slot. Here on the Magic, however, this is the original Disney cruise ship. It's the oldest, and therefore it doesn't have those fancy slots. We're going to share some more stateroom tips later in this video, but right now we got to head out because it's almost time for the muster drill, which is the required safety training that they do before every sailing. It's important to know everyone in your party is required to attend the muster drill. It is required. Even if they're infants, they still have to be with you. Even if you sailed 100 times, you still have to go and hear the safety information about this particular ship. And we're going to go do that shortly. You can find the location where you need to go to attend your muster drill in the app. As soon as you sign into the onboard Wi-Fi and then you load up that Disney Cruise Navigator app, right there on the home screen, it's going to show you where you need to go for your muster drill. In the meantime, we're going to explore a little bit and make sure that we know the right spot to be at 3:30 for that drill.
If you or anyone in your party have sensitive hearing, you may want to cover your ears at this time.
The safety drill is now completed, so we're going to head off to the sail away party. That on this ship is on decks 9 and 10, and we got lots of tips from people that we needed to go immediately to find a spot because apparently it gets really crowded really fast. The sail away party is really fun. I think especially if you've got little ones, they're going to love it. It really does feel like you're in the middle of like a Disney Junior television show. I think that's a must do. I was talking to some travel planners and they said that is going to be the busiest thing we experience for the whole cruise because that is the one thing that pretty much everyone goes and does at the same time. The advice that we got to go straight up to the observation deck above where the show was going to happen right after the muster drill, that was key. I mean, within a minute or so of us getting there, that whole observation deck area was just packed. But that's not the only really cool thing that happens on your embarkation day. There are a lot of character meet and greets that happen, and they start immediately after that sail away party. So we actually came straight down to get in line about 15 minutes before Mickey was going to start meeting guests. Minnie is also out meeting guests in another area of the ship. But there's going to be meet and greets happening, though, throughout your cruise. So just keep an eye on that app. You'll see all of those activities there. And what you want to do, put a heart by the ones that you're interested in. And then the app is going to send you a notification when those activities are about to begin. Do keep in mind, though, for these character meet and greets, you want to be there at least 15, if not 20, 25 minutes before they're going to start if you want to get a good spot in line. One of the great things about a Disney cruise is that there are all of these different areas that are just for kids. Now, there are also areas that are just for adults, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But I want to talk about these just for kids areas because there's only limited times in your cruise when adults are even allowed to be in this area. It's basically like the secret kids clubhouse. And I cannot even imagine how cool this would have been to experience as a little kid. So it's nice that you can come in as an adult during these open house events and just see what they look like. Obviously, it's even more fun if you're here with your kids. I've talked to so many families, though, who say that their kids never want to leave these areas. So it's almost like they have to pry them away to have family time. But that's kind of the magic of the Disney cruise, is that there is something there for everyone. I want to go around and give you an idea of what these spaces are like right now while we're able to be in here. But when you're on your cruise, just check the app. You'll be able to see the open house times for the different areas. Most of these areas, as long as your kids are within the age ranges that are specified, they're welcome to come here and stay as long as they like, as long as it's open, basically. But it's important to know if you have really little ones, like infants, they have a special area all their own, themed to It's a Small World. And those you do have to have reservations for. And you do want to probably reserve those even before your cruise. But for right now, let's just tour around these spaces and see what these really cool kid clubhouses look like. Tonight has been a whirlwind of an adventure. We did so much stuff tonight, and it reminded me of a tip that I got from so many of you who said, Rob, you have to realize that the cruise line is just like the parks. There's so much to do, there's no way you can possibly do it all. And I don't know, when I looked at it, I was like, the ship is so much smaller than a park. I can do so many things in a park day. Surely I'm going to be able to do most of these things. No, no, my friends. You definitely have to pace yourself, prioritize, and pick the things that matter most. But I am going to tell you the one thing you definitely want to prioritize are the big evening shows that happen in the main theater. We saw the first of the Broadway style shows tonight, and it was incredible. I wish I could show it to you. Unfortunately, they don't allow any filming or even photography during these shows. If the rest of the shows are even half as good as this one, it is a must do on your itinerary. Just plan every night you're going to see these shows. Now, there are two performances, and the reason that there are two performances is because there are two different dinner rotations. I want to talk about that in just a second. But first, I want to share a tip that we got about these shows that came in very handy for us tonight. Someone said that you should bring your popcorn bucket that you have from the parks. If you've got one of these, if you're at Disney World, this popcorn bucket lets you get refills for, I think it's currently $2.25. Well, here on the ship, while most food is free, for some strange reason, popcorn is not free. It's weird, right? Because hamburgers and steaks and all those things cost a lot of money, whereas popcorn is very cheap to make, but they charge for the popcorn. However, it's about $4.25 for a cup of popcorn, or you can fill this up, which is actually larger, for $1.75. So if you think you're going to want popcorn during the shows, this was a great tip to bring a popcorn bucket. They also sell popcorn buckets on the ship, and once you buy one, you could use it for refills for the rest of the voyage. Another tip that we got was that you want to bring a water bottle and ideally kind of a soda cup with a handle and a lid. And I think what they were talking about was maybe something like this. So if you've ever done the dining plan or you've stayed at a resort and gotten the resort refillable mug, this is that guy, and it has come in very handy. So whenever I'm at a soda station, I fill up my water bottle with water, I fill up this with my soda of choice, and it's really great to have those with you because those places where you can get water and soda are not all over the ship. They're just in certain areas. So now back to dinner rotations, because this is one of those things that I didn't fully understand until I got on the ship and experienced it. So there's an early dinner rotation and a later dinner rotation. And I did know that a lot of people try to get that early dinner rotation if they can, and it's so in demand that you can request it in advance, but if you don't request it early enough, you're not going to be able to get it. You're going to get that later one. That was the case with us. So there are a lot of things that you should probably book as soon as you're able to start making selections. And in terms of when you're able to start making selections, that's going to depend on how many Disney cruises you've taken in the past. Disney Cruise Line has something called the Castaway Club. And once you take your first cruise, you're automatically a member. And at the end of your cruise, you're at the silver level, which means that you can book things a little bit sooner than other folks. For us, however, this was our very first cruise, which meant we were not even at the silver level, and that meant that everyone else in the Castaway Club at tiers above us, they were able to make their selections first, and we didn't have a choice. We just had the later dining rotation. I gotta say though, I'm kind of loving that it worked out that way. I don't know that I agree that that first dinner rotation is best, and I'm going to tell you why. We have found, talking to folks, that that first dinner rotation is going to be where all of the families with younger kids are going to try to get, because of course those kids are going to go to bed early And so they want to have their meals earlier in the evening. And that means that the restaurants during that early dinner rotation can be really chaotic. I actually was able to peek in at the line going in, and it definitely looked a lot more rambunctious than our line did when we went in. So I think it actually worked out to our benefit that we were in the later rotation. I obviously, if you've got little kids who need to eat earlier, that's what you should aim for. But I would say, if not, you're probably better off going to the later rotation. And since there are two of those big shows that I was talking about, the big Broadway style shows, one happens earlier, and that's for the folks who have the later dining rotation. And the other happens later in the night, and that's for the folks who have that early dinner rotation. But guess what? If you've got those little kids who need to go to bed early, you might miss out on that show if you're not able to watch it earlier, if you have to go to the later one. So we're going to have a ton more tips coming your way in the days ahead, but I have one last one that I want to share from our first night, and this is a big one. We learned this one from our stateroom host, and apparently this is true on all of the different Disney ships, not just this one. So there are three sections of your cruise ship. There's the aft, which is the back of the ship. There's midship, which is in the middle, and then there's forward, which is the front of the ship. But when you're in one of these hallways of staterooms, you look in both directions and they kind of look exactly the same. But there is a secret that will guide you to the front of the ship. Look down at the carpet and you're going to see stars. The top of that star is pointing in the direction of the front of the ship. So the bottom of the star, where the 2 points are, that's directing you towards the aft of the ship. And let me tell you, when you're trying to navigate your ship, this is huge. This is a great visual aid, and it has come in so handy and prevented me from walking in the wrong direction multiple times. So thank you so much to Abby, our stateroom host, for sharing that with us today. It has really made life so much easier, and that is a tip you should definitely write down so you remember when you're on your Disney cruise. For right now, though, we're going to get some shut-eye, and we'll see you in the morning. Welcome to day 2 of our Disney Magic Cruise adventure. So today is Castaway Key Day. We are at one of Disney's private islands, and it has been an incredible day. We spent the whole day ashore, and the island is spectacular. That is going to be a video all unto itself. So if you want to see that video and learn more about Castaway Key, subscribe to our channel and ring that bell, and you'll know about it as soon as it comes out. But let's get back to this video. So this morning we tried out a tip that a lot of people suggested, and that was having breakfast in bed. Because here on the Disney cruise ship, you can just fill out a little door hanger, stick it on your door the night before, and then magically someone is going to arrive at your door the next day with a continental breakfast, a room service. And this is complimentary. You don't pay anything extra for it, although you are expected to provide a gratuity. So make sure you provide a gratuity to the cast member who brings you your delightful breakfast. But the breakfast itself was pretty standard. I mean, it was good. There was nothing wrong with it. But what made it amazing was having it in your stateroom and just looking out the porthole window at the sea as you're sailing along. That was very cool. And I agree with everyone who recommended that. I'm not sure, maybe if you're on one of the larger ships, there are more breakfast options. Maybe you can get something more than just a continental breakfast, but we really enjoyed what we got, and it was a really nice perk, and it's something I think we might use again, especially on days when we're going to go ashore, because it was nice to be able to just kind of have breakfast in the room, get ready, and we were able to get out onto Castaway Key really early because we didn't have to go and hit the buffet and wait in the line. So that was another great perk of getting breakfast in the room. Lots of folks did say that you want to get on the island early, and they were absolutely right. It was shocking to me. It's not like a Disney park where everyone wants to be in for early entry or right at rope drop, and there's just so many people going to the most popular attractions. It really felt like our own private island when we got there. It was so quiet and peaceful. It really made it an even more magical experience. So everyone who recommended get off the ship, get on the island early, 100% agree with that tip. Right now, however, we need to get changed into Halloween costumes, believe it or not, because we're on a Halloween on the High Seas cruise, which means that at least one of your cruise nights, folks are going to get dressed up and there's going to be lots of Halloween activities on board. It's almost time for Mickey's Masquerade Party. When you're here for a voyage during Halloween on the high seas, there are all kinds of special things that happen, mainly down in the lobby area. As you saw when we came in, they have the beautiful pumpkin tree, and each of the different Disney cruise ships will have their own version of the pumpkin tree. But tonight is a special night on the cruise because this is when everybody dresses up and gets in on the Halloween fun. So you're encouraged to bring a Halloween costume. And this is in addition to your pirate's costume that you'll also be bringing for Pirate Night. But this is a night where people go all out. I'm already seeing so many amazing costumes, but right now we're about 30 minutes away from the masquerade party beginning, and folks are already up here saving their spots. Much like the sail a wave party, I think it's best if you can to get a spot up on the upper deck. So right now we're on deck 10, looking down at the party on deck 9. Of course, if you want to be right up with the characters and maybe get a chance to interact with them or dance with them, then you're going to want to be down on the main floor. But if you just want to get a good look at the show, this is the perfect spot to do it. What a spooktacular evening we had here on the Disney Magic. After the masquerade wrapped up, we went downstairs and got some really cool magic shots. We also got to meet Minnie in her fabulous Halloween outfit. Of course, we had dinner as well. Tonight's restaurant was Lumiere's, which serves appropriately enough French cuisine. The one thing you have to get, if it's on the menu when you're here, is the breaded deep fried brie. That was delicious. My favorite thing from the meal tonight. So now we are back in our stateroom. It's almost time for bed. However, I want to utilize one more of the tips that we got. And the same person who said we should get breakfast in our stateroom also said we should strongly consider getting warm cookies and milk. Room service aboard the ship is 24 hours a day, and most of the things that you get are complimentary when you order room service. I've even heard that there are some secret menu items. Apparently, you can ask for a Mickey's Premium Bar, and they will bring you to your stateroom, assuming that they haven't run out. But for us, we're going to take your advice. We're going to order some warm cookies and milk to end our evening here on the Disney Magic. See you tomorrow. Good morning from Nassau in the Bahamas. Even though today is a port day, one of the suggestions that we got from a lot of people was to pick at least one port day and consider staying on board the ship. That's because it's going to be much quieter and you're going to be able to enjoy a lot of the things on the ship that normally would have really long lines, or maybe that area would be really packed with people. And you can really truly enjoy those experiences on a port day in a way you can't on other days. Eric, however, is going to take the opposite approach. He's going to head ashore. He's actually got an excursion booked. He's going to check out a wildlife preserve, probably do some shopping, just kind of see what there is to do here at the port of Nassau. And this is actually going to be a whole video all unto itself. We're going to take different paths and show you what it's like to spend a day being pampered here on the ship versus heading into port and exploring a new place like Nassau. Of course, if you want to see that video, all you got to do, subscribe to the channel and ring that bell, and you're going to be notified as soon as it comes out. We are on our third and final port day of our Disney Magic Cruise adventure, and this morning we have arrived at Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point. This is the second of Disney's exclusive destinations that you can only go to if you're on a Disney cruise. And I did get some really good tips specifically for this destination. Unlike over at Castaway Key, where there are tons of loungers, apparently here on Lookout Key, there are lots of loungers, but there aren't many of them that are along the shoreline. So if you want to get a good seat right there near the beach, apparently it pays to get here early. Another tip that we have found very helpful, someone suggested that we should bring a reusable bag with us for shopping, both on the islands and on the ship. And that's because since we're on the sea, Disney is very careful not to have single-use plastic whenever possible. So there are no bags anywhere. If you want to do a good bit of shopping and you want to be able to carry everything around, bringing a reusable bag is a very helpful tip. I also like it as a beach bag, so you can throw in your sandals and other things you're going to need for your day at the beach. And don't forget to put in those mugs and water bottles because you can refill those at different stations on the island, but those stations aren't always super convenient to where you are. Well, it's almost time to head ashore. If you want to see more of our adventure on both of these keys, that video is going to be coming out really soon. I'll see you later tonight for Pirate Night. Arr! Ahoy there, mateys! We be here on Pirate Night, and we have some Pirate Night tips to share with you, me hearties. First up, you definitely want to pack something for Pirate Night. There were very few people who were not dressed up tonight. I would say probably 80-90% of the ship is gonna be dressed up like a pirate. So if you plan to be out and about that night and to see the amazing show that's gonna happen up on the top deck, you probably want to pack something vaguely piratey. My second tip is don't miss your table service restaurant that night. We were in Animator's Palette, and they actually did a special thing just for Pirate Night. I was told by our servers that definitely Animator's Palette is the best spot to be in for Pirate Night, so hopefully you can get that in your rotation so that that's where you'll be. They just have all those screens in there and they're able to really do up the pirate theme, which is awesome. The other thing it's important to know is the show that's going to happen at the end of the night is one of the biggest ticket items of the cruise. If the Sail Away party was big, this is actually, I think, even bigger. We saved a spot 20 minutes before Sail Away, and we were able to get a pretty decent spot. I think for this show, you would have needed to be there at least 30, if not 45 minutes before the show was going to start to get a good spot. The other thing it's important to know about this show is you probably want to be in a slightly different spot. So I think for the other big stage shows up top, you kind of want to be on that 10th floor and you want to be right in the middle looking down on the stage. But for this one, you actually kind of want to be to the right of the screen. So if you're staring at the screen, you probably want to be on that right side. That's because that's where the fireworks are going to go off at the end. It's also the spot you want to be to get the best view of a certain character who might come dashing in to save the day at the end of the show. This is definitely one of those must-do things. However, it is important to know this show can get canceled. In fact, tonight, everyone was really anxious that it was going to get canceled because it was really windy. Thankfully, they were able to kind of navigate the ship out of that wind, but we were told by cast members if it's too windy or there's rain or other inclement weather conditions, they really can't do this show because obviously with a show like this where you've got fireworks at sea, you've got a character flying through the air, and you've got all kinds of dancing happening on the stage, they can really only keep everyone safe if the conditions are right. Well, tomorrow is our final full day here on the ship, and it's going to be a day at sea. So we're going to be sharing with you all day tomorrow our best tips for making the most of your life aboard the ship. Good morning from Deck 10, the very top deck of the Disney Magic cruise ship. We're up here because we just enjoyed a delightful brunch at Palo. Palo is the exclusive adults-only restaurant here on the ship, and it's an upcharge if you do want to eat there. You should also be aware that you'll need to dress up a bit if you want to eat there. Collared shirts, dress slacks, that's kind of the order of the day. A dinner jacket isn't required, but if you'd like to wear a dinner jacket, it would certainly be appropriate. We talked a little bit about Palo earlier, and I wanted to give you a little bit more detail that we've learned since we've been on the ship. For cruises that last longer than 3 days, so 4 or more days, most people will choose to book Palo on their first night on the ship. The reason being that that night will likely be a restaurant that gets rotated. For shorter cruises, most people will choose to book Palo on pirate night. The reason for that is, number one, you're welcome to come in your pirate attire, so you don't have to worry about a special dress-up outfit. Number two, all the restaurants downstairs will be having the same pirate night menu, which apparently a lot of folks on the cruise ships find to be their least favorite of the menu rotations. Number three, there's typically not a show in any of the restaurants downstairs. So here on the Magic, you have Lumiere's, which is themed to Beauty and the Beast. That restaurant never has a show. It's more of a formal dining experience, although you're welcome to wear whatever you like. You don't have to dress up for it, but it's just a little bit more of an upscale feel, and they don't do a show. There's the Animator's Palette, which has, I think, the most spectacular show we've seen yet. We still have to see Rapunzel's tonight. So even though we ate in Rapunzel's the first night, there was no show because we're on a longer cruise. They're only going to do each of the shows once per rotation. None of those restaurants will have their traditional show on pirate night. So if you're worried about missing the show downstairs, pirate night is a good night to pick for Palo. Another reason it's good to be here at Palo on pirate night is because this is the deck you probably want to be on for the best view of the fireworks and the show happening down below on deck 9. Since you're already up here, once you finish dinner, you can just step outside on the deck and find the perfect spot to enjoy your pirate night evening. Now, a lot of people don't want to miss any of that stuff that happens downstairs, including pirate night. So they'll choose to do what we did, which is have brunch at Palo. Now the menu is different for brunch, but I gotta tell you, this was definitely the best meal we have had on board the ship, and I can only imagine how good it would be for dinner. For me, the standouts were definitely the lasagna and the almond croissant. Oh my gosh. That almond croissant was probably the best croissant I've ever had in my life, including the croissants that we tried in Paris. And you can only get that almond croissant as part of brunch here at Palo. It's an exclusive item. Now we should note, we are on our final sea day, and this is typically the day where you will find Mickey churro waffles downstairs in Cabanas, which is the buffet restaurant. You should always check with the cast members at Cabanas and find out which day on your cruise they're going to have churro waffles, but typically it's going to be the last full day, which is also usually a sea day. Now, why do you care so much about these Mickey churro waffles? Well, they are the best thing that appears, I think, on the menu at the buffet downstairs. It's basically a Mickey waffle that's been deep fried and then coated with cinnamon sugar. It really is delicious, and I can see why it's something that people wait for each and every cruise. We decided we would just make like a hobbit and have second breakfast. So we had, our first breakfast was just a single Mickey churro waffle so that we could taste it. And then we came up and enjoyed Palo, which I gotta say was so much food. They just keep convincing you that you need to try one more thing. Oh, but you really need to try this thing. And we ate a lot. We're very full, but I'm still glad we had that Mickey churro waffle just so that we can say that we tried it. Let's talk about elevators. Probably not something you were really thinking about when you were choosing your stateroom, but it is something you actually might want to think about. These elevators behind me are midship elevators. They're the ones in the center, and that means that they are basically elevator Grand Central Station. These midship elevators, while they are convenient for getting to lots of things, because they're convenient, lots of people are constantly using them. It can take a very long time for an elevator to come, and then when it does come, oftentimes it's full. And so you have to push the button again and wait again. You're gonna have a lot better luck on the forward and aft elevators of the ship. So when you're booking a room, you might want to consider getting one closer to forward and aft At least on this ship, the Magic, that's also where you're going to embark and disembark from on those forward and aft sides. So those can be good rooms to pick for multiple reasons. Now each ship is different, so you're going to want to check the map for the ship that you're going to be sailing on, but I can say here on the Magic, if you are in that forward section, that's going to give you really easy access to the different shows that happen. It's also going to give you easy access to the adults only area and the spa. So if you want to spend a lot of time in the lovely rainforest room at Senses Spa, maybe you want to be up there in that front section of the ship. If, however, you want to have easy access to dining, all of the dining on this ship is at the back. So you might want something in that aft section so you can get a quick bite to eat at the buffet or make it on time at the last minute for your dining reservation downstairs. That said, you are going to find yourself on all of these different elevators at different times during your voyage, and that's a good thing because each of the elevators is themed differently, and you can see some really fun little surprises when you take different elevators on the ship. Unsurprisingly, Disney cruise ships do not have casinos, but they do have bingo, and it is one of the most popular activities on the ship. And on this last sea day, you can actually make some pretty big money. The game we're gonna play right now, we could win as much as $10,000. So that's not bad for a game of bingo. When you come to play, you have some different options. You could use a traditional card that you're gonna mark with a marker, or you can use this fancy thing that basically marks itself. And when you use this one, it does cost twice as much, but you get a lot more than twice as many games, and it plays itself. This is our first time playing bingo on a Disney ship, so fingers crossed we're gonna walk out here with some money, or maybe we're just gonna walk out 50 bucks lighter, but having had a great time. Sadly, we did not win $10,000. We didn't actually win any dollars, but I do have a tip that's going to save you some dollars, especially if you feel like you're going to need to use the internet while you're on board your ship. If you were thinking that you needed the internet to send messages back and forth with your group, you may not, in fact, need the internet for that because the cruise app is going to let you send messages to other folks in your party. You can even send messages to other folks on board the cruise ship. If they give you their information, you guys connect on the app, you can message each other for the duration of the cruise. Also, select messaging apps like iMessage from Apple or WhatsApp will work with the complimentary internet that just powers your app and the other services on board the ship. If you wanted to look at the photos that are being taken on your cruise ship adventure, those are also free to look at. You don't have to pay for internet to access those. So pretty much anything that is related to your Disney cruise, you don't need internet to access. But let's say that's not enough. You still definitely need internet. It is going to be very expensive to get internet for your cruise. You can pay daily or you can pay for the duration, but here's the catch and the tip. The catch is you've got to pay per device. So if you've got a computer and you've got a phone and you want to use the internet on both of those at the same time, then you need to pay for two devices. But guess what? If you don't care about using those at the same time, if you just want to use one at a time, you can just pay for one device. You can disconnect from that one device and connect to another one. So save your money. If you don't need to use the internet on multiple devices simultaneously, just pay for one and switch back and forth throughout the cruise. Our next stop is up top on the pool deck, where you're going to find, at least on this ship, ice cream. And this is a really big deal on Disney cruise ships. So many people were like, oh my gosh, did you have the ice cream? Did you have the ice cream? There is complimentary soft serve ice cream. And aboard each Disney ship, there is a unique flavor that you can only get on board that ship. So you might want to ask the cast members, what is the unique ice cream flavor for this ship and when can you get it? For us, it is blueberry. The blueberry's not bad. It's definitely a unique soft serve flavor that you're probably not going to find if you're not aboard the Disney Magic. If one of the things you're most excited about for your Disney cruise adventure is to meet a bunch of characters, you might want to strongly consider getting the photo package. We got the photo package, and I gotta say, I'm really glad that we did. Not only does it make it easy to get photos with all the characters that you meet, you're also going to get the opportunity to get magic shots. While you can always hand your phone to the cast member and just ask them to take a picture with your phone or your personal camera, what you do miss out on are the little magical things that Disney can add into those photos when you have the photo package. As I understand it, the price of the photo package does change depending on the length of your cruise, but it is a little bit more expensive than getting the photo package in the parks. But I would say it is well worth it if you're planning to do a lot of character interactions. If you're not planning to meet a lot of characters, if you don't care a bunch about those magic shots, then I would say you could maybe skip that photo package, because really the only photos that we've gotten outside of those that we've stood in line and posed for have been some shots that you get at dinner. There haven't been a lot of roaming photographers just kind of catching random moments. Another thing you might want to consider if you're going to get that photo package, and honestly I would say you should consider this even if you're not, grabbing a Disney Band Plus. You may know this as a Magic Band because everywhere else Disney calls this a Magic Band. It's the same exact thing. It's a Magic Band Plus, but on board a cruise ship, Disney calls it Disney Band Plus. Sometimes Disney does this. I don't understand why they need to give the same exact item multiple names, but they do. So if you hear someone on the cruise ask if you have a Disney Band Plus, they mean the Magic Band Plus. But I gotta say, I think they're even more useful on a cruise ship than they are in the parks. Not only can they open your stateroom door, you can also use them when you're getting those photos done with the photo package. You just tap that instead of your cruise key to the world card. You can use it to charge things to your stateroom, which you're going to be doing a lot of probably on your cruise adventure. Most importantly, you can use it when you get off at different ports to sign in and out of the ship. You will still need to bring a photo ID when you return on board, and they're going to make sure that you have that before they let you leave the ship. But really, the main thing they're going to look for is either your key to the world card or your magic band. And it's so convenient just to have that magic band attached to your wrist, because you're going to use it a lot. The other thing that's great is when you get off at those private Disney resorts like Castaway Key or Lookout Key, you don't need to carry any cash with you. You can tip anyone you need to tip using your magic band. You can pay for anything you need to pay for, including the handicrafts, using your magic band. So there's literally nothing at those places that you need cash for. You can do it all with your magic band or your key to the world card, which is essentially your stateroom door key card. I was hoping that we were going to be able to get one last character photo in, but the line is really long. I did find that the lines were the shortest earlier today, so I think early on the last day of your cruise might be your best bet for getting some of those character shots that you missed. I think that's because a lot of people who are prioritizing characters do those shots earlier in the cruise. So on that last day, especially in the morning, the lines seem to be, at least for our cruise, a little bit shorter. But now that we're getting towards the end of the day and people are like, oh no, this is my last chance, the lines have definitely gotten longer again.
I've always dreamt of being a concert pianist. Maybe at the stage performing the song. Whistling the ice cream till they do.
When the last I see the light, and it's like the sky is blue, and it's warm and real and bright.
Probably the thing that we got more tips on from folks than anything else were ways to deck out your stateroom. Folks are really obsessed with these magnetic hooks. We'll put a link to them in the description down below over on Amazon. They're relatively inexpensive, and I will admit these do come in handy because your stateroom, of course, is on the small side and you got a lot of things to carry and organize. And we actually found these hooks to be quite helpful. Now the key to these is they're best to use on the ceiling because that's where they actually have the most strength. If you attach them to the wall, which they will attach to pretty much any surface in your stateroom, it's all metal and magnetic, But when you attach it to the wall, it tends to slide down, whereas with the ceiling, you actually get the strongest hold, oddly enough. So we ended up putting these all around the ceiling and hanging different things from them, from ears to popcorn buckets. Anything we wanted within easy reach was dangling from the ceiling. The other thing you're going to hear a lot about is decorating your stateroom door with magnets. This is huge. I mean, virtually every door as you walk down the hallway of the Magic had decorations on them. Mostly they were magnets that you can find on Etsy or Amazon. Clearly, a lot of families made their own as well. This is definitely something that people get really into, and it's actually a helpful thing to do because as you go down those hallways, all the stateroom doors look exactly the same. So by putting up your own magnets, it makes it easy to find your door as you're strolling down the hall. Another thing you're going to see on a lot of those stateroom doors is something called a fish extender. When I first heard that term, I was completely baffled. I mean, are we stretching fishes? What's happening here? Well, here on the Disney Magic, this was the original ship. And you'll notice that there are these fish that are almost like hooks by the side of each stateroom door. And what people ended up doing was hanging these usually handmade things that look kind of like those letter organizers you might have seen in an office or more likely a home office. And what they're used for is for people to exchange little gifts with one another. This has actually grown into a whole culture aboard the ship. And it's a way that people connect and make new friends on their cruises. The thing is, a lot of people get started with this way before the cruise even begins. As soon as you've booked your cruise, if you want to get involved with this, you're going to want to go to Facebook and you will find a Facebook group that is specifically for your sailing. I don't mean a Facebook group like for the Disney Magic. I mean a Facebook group for the Disney Magic on the sail dates that you're sailing. So you're going to meet all the folks who are going to be on board your ship. These Facebook groups can be really helpful for connecting with the folks who are going to be on your ship to ask questions, because a lot of people who cruise on Disney ships frequently will be among the first to sign up on those groups, and they're very helpful at answering questions that you might have. But another thing that's going to happen on that Facebook group is they're going to organize fish extender gift exchanges. It's sort of almost like a secret Santa that you can get involved with. But if you do want to do that, you're going to have to do it in advance of the cruise by several weeks, because they will have a cutoff point where they don't accept new people in that secret Santa gift exchange. But even if you don't plan anything, there are all kinds of little fun things that people do for each other. For example, we found this lovely pixie dust on our door, and we didn't even have a fish extender up. But this pixie dust is like a little tic-tac-toe kit. It's just a cute little gift that someone left for us, and it's going to be a great memento from our trip. And I think the next time that we come on a Disney cruise, we're probably going to make some pixie dust ourselves and share a little bit of the Disney magic around to the other staterooms that are on our floor. One tip that we got on social media was that you should consider packing light because there is a laundry room available on board. In fact, I think every deck has its own little laundrette. Now, these laundry facilities are actually very heavily used. Every time we pass by, there were folks in there doing laundry or using the irons to iron their clothes. You won't have any irons or steamers in your room, and you're actually not allowed to bring those on board. So heading to that laundry room is pretty much the only way you're going to be able to iron clothes. For us, however, we found that we really did not want to spend any of our vacation time in the laundry room. On my next cruise, I'm actually probably going to pack more. That way I always have something fresh to put on when I change clothes, and I don't have to spend time in the laundry room. When you're checking in for your cruise, one of the options will be to add prepaid tips. Now, it is customary to tip your stateroom host, as well as the servers who are going to be serving you at all of your different meals. They follow you from restaurant to restaurant. So you have the same servers every night who get to know what you like and what you don't like. And it just makes it a more personal experience on your cruise. I do feel like you start to have a bond with these folks. Our stateroom hostess was amazing, and she gave us so many great tips, including that one I shared with you about the stars in the hallway. So if you want to tip them a little extra, that is very common and customary. Now, you're not really expected necessarily to tip anyone more than the prepaid amount, but a lot of folks do. And I want to sort of share with you what that process is, because it's not exactly intuitive and it's not really spelled out anywhere. Once you do those prepaid tips, you're going to find in your room on the last day a little letter like this that explains the process. And on the back of the letter are the tip amounts based on what your prepaid tip was that are going to go to each of the cast members who you should consider tipping. So there'll be amount for your server, your assistant server, your head server, and your stateroom host. And each of those is going to get kind of a predetermined percentage of your prepaid tip. So this paper is also perforated, which means that you can tear off the section for each of those people that you're going to be tipping, and they provide you with envelopes to put it in. Now, you're typically going to personally hand this over to your servers and or your stateroom host, and a lot of times people will put something extra in there. One of the tips that we got from someone on social media was that they brought their own thank you cards. They like to make it a little bit more personal. And I thought that was a great tip. So we did the same. We're going to write up some little thank yous to each of our servers and our stateroom host. And we're going to put a little something extra in there along with the little strip of paper that shows what the prepaid tip amount is. What some people like to do though, instead of putting cash in the envelope, they like to go to guest services and basically adjust the prepaid tip amount to be what they want to tip instead. If you're going to do that, it is recommended that you do it before they make a ship-wide announcement letting everyone know that they can do that, because from what I've been told, they're going to make that announcement, and when they do, there are going to be massively long lines at guest services with people trying to do that. Another thing that sometimes people will do at that time, instead of having that tip continue to come from their credit card, which is what happens when you do a prepaid tip, they might cancel that prepaid tip and instead choose to tip entirely in cash instead. The reason some folks like to do this is because when you tip with a credit card, your server and your stateroom host will have the amount deducted for the credit card fees. So essentially they'll get a slightly lower amount than what you tipped when it comes from a credit card. But if you do tip in cash, then they will get the full amount. Now, I'm not saying that's something that you need to do. I'm just letting you know that that's something that some people do like to do. And in order to do that, you're going to need to go to guest services, and you're going to want to do it before the rush. I have one final tip for your Disney cruise adventure, and this one relates specifically to your last night on the ship. It was a surprise to us that we actually needed to have our bags packed and tagged and out the door by 10 p.m. if we wanted assistance with our bags as we exited the ship. Now, we just chose to take the bags off ourselves in the morning, but this is definitely something if you've got a lot of bags, especially if you've got kids in tow and it's going to be difficult for you to manage all that at once, make sure that you have everything packed and ready to go before it's time for dinner, because your late afternoon is probably going to be jam-packed. You're going to have a show in the theater, you're going to have dinner, and then you're going to have the big party at the end of the cruise where all of the different characters come out and give one last final hurrah, and everyone says goodbye and takes pictures, and there's confetti. All that stuff happens on the final night. So if you didn't plan ahead and pack everything, you're going to be making a mad dash to try to get everything packed instead of enjoying all the fun things that happen on that final night. Be prepared, spend a little bit of your last day during the day getting things packed and ready to go so you aren't stressed out at the end of the night. Or do what we're doing and just decide, you know what? We're going to get up really early in the morning and we're going to carry everything out ourselves. Well, that is the last of the tips that we have to share from our very first Disney cruise here on the Disney Magic. If you have some tips that we didn't mention, be sure to let everyone know in the comments down below. If you found these tips helpful, help us out by giving this video a like, subscribing to our channel, and ringing that bell. That way you'll be notified as soon as new videos come out. And we do have some new videos about this very cruise coming really soon, including a video all about those Disney private resorts, Castaway Key and Lookout Key. And of course, that video we did where I stayed on board the ship and Eric went on an adventure in Nassau. If you want to see those videos, you'll need to subscribe and ring that bell so you know when they come out. I also want to give a huge thank you to our Patreon family. Thank you so much for making this video possible. We could not have done this without your support. If you'd like to join them and get access to exclusive bonus content, head on over to patreon.com/earscouts. And of course, I want to thank all of you. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, don't forget to think happy thoughts, everybody. We'll see you again real soon.